Further synchronization noises.
All right. With that introduction, I'm Kerry Cassidy from Project Camelot, and I'm very happy to be here today. We are in an extraordinary place called the Barge. It's next to a bunch of barges here on these little canals here in England, and it's a fabulous setting, I have to say. Right in the area of Salisbury Hill and military bases and whatnot in Pewsbury and surrounding area. And we want to thank in advance Miles Johnson for arranging this and making it all possible, and also for his assistance with the various cameras, and of course Neil Anthony Sanford is on the other camera. So I'm here with Duncan, the grid keeper, and very interesting individual, and so we're going to find out all about his experiences, how he got where he is today, and being somewhat notorious and having quite a substantial YouTube channel called The Grid Keeper, right?
Yeah.
And what I want to start out with is actually, seriously, how did you get here today? Because in your life, you have had a lot of exposure to this sector that UFOs, the secrets, the hidden secret space program, and also with regard to what we know of as James Casbolt, Michael Prince, Super Soldier, and so on. So you have had quite a long relationship with him. You also know John Leonard Walson.
I do.
Quite another interesting filmmaker and notorious specialist, really, in planets off the grid, etc. information. So let's start out with how you broke into this sector. What was your sort of inciting incident?
My family.
All right.
When I mentioned about King Harold.
Okay.
So I used to live in a village called Bosham, had a music company, and there was an incident where a historian had taken to court the fact that he believed that King Harold was buried in this local church, and the church didn't really like anyone bringing this up. So it was on the news, and I thought, well, it's only down the road from me, I'll go down there. Now, at the time, I didn't know anything about my family. So I've gone up to the church door, the historians came out, they told me what it was about, and jokingly I said, well, you should tell me because I'm a relation. I didn't actually know I was at the time, until I spoke to my mother in the evening, and she said, you should go and speak to your uncle, he's got all these old documents. And then I discovered that I'm a descendant of King Harold's older brother. And it opened up a whole world of secrecy for me and cover-ups. And it was the drive of trying to find out what happened to my family and how far back it went further than that kept me going. And it opened up everything else. It just came along with it, really.
All right, so King Harold...
1066.
All right, and what was he known for?
He reigned for 9 months, and he did more for this country than any other living monarch has ever done, probably put together.
I'm not going to say you're prejudiced, but go ahead and tell me what exactly did he do?
His father was best friends with Edward the Confessor and supported Edward. Edward was celibate and married to Harold's younger sister, which is why King Harold was always promised to become king. So the story of William being promised to be king by Edward the Confessor is just totally nonsensical from my point of view. And you can research this on Wikipedia and the internet and family tree stuff, but you can find out that Nathaniel Rothschild is descended from William the Conqueror. So therefore, in my mind, William the Conqueror was a Rothschild. So the whole 1066 of invading England, when the whole of the British Army was sent up north for the Battle of Stamford Bridge, which must have been arranged beforehand, because as soon as that battle started, word was sent that it was going on to William in France. He's then come over and invaded Hastings, and there's no army to stop him. They've taken over Hastings. They're up on the hill in battle. The whole of the army had to march down from Stamford Bridge on foot and then fight this invader. It's no wonder they lost.
Okay, but where is King
And-
Harold at the time?
King Harold, he wasn't in Hastings. Well, they all came back to meet in Hastings and they all got slaughtered. The bodies of the children were brought back to Bosham and the mother said, you know, we need to bury them in the churchyard. There's no one of my family in Bosham churchyard because we found documents saying that William the Conqueror said if we bury King Harold here, it will become a shrine and it'll undermine what I'm about to do. And he became king and brought in the Domesday Book. And I think that if we hadn't have had that 1066 Domesday Book, England would, well, it wouldn't be how it is today, but it wouldn't be, they wouldn't have this much control over us in a way, and the rest of the world, if that makes any sense.
So are you
It was
saying
quite a big
William
deal.
the Conqueror became king?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and what
He's
is
an
this
invader.
Domesday Book? What is
The
that?
Domesday Book was where they went round and they made a book with every property business and who owned what piece of land in this country, and then they decided what land they were going to take away from people and bring in the French and give them the land.
Okay, and in
happened
this scenario, you're
everywhere.
saying your King Harold was somewhere in the background. Where was he?
I don't know where he was at the time.
Oh, all right.
I don't know that
so
much. I don't know.
What is
really.
his
But
lineage going back to what? I mean, is he Anglo-Saxon?
yes,
He's Anglo-Saxon.
Saxon and
And William the Conqueror is what, French and Roman?
French, Norman, yeah.
Roman.
So how I found this out, my grandfather was the Lord Worshipful Master of the Royal Tunbridge Wells Masons. And so was my uncle. They were councillors, they were very involved. And they put together this family tree and they went all the way around England to every parish council, every church, and they got any information they could find out about my family and put it in these 2 giant books, which I've still got today. And it's all typed up and you can go through everything and every person in there, it tells you what they did as a job, and it goes back to 400 AD. And it is an incredible document, and it shows where it's even got how Harold's older brother had a son called Hakon Swainson, and they didn't kill him. So he survived, and our line carried on. But if you go into Somerset House in London, there's a book in there which shows part of my family tree. And again, it was done by the Masons, and it goes all the way back to the Temple of Karnak in Egypt, to Amun-Ra. So that's where we think we originate from. And it would also explain why, I told you earlier, when I use Tim's technology, especially with healing, it happens so fast. And Tim tells me it's because I've still got that.
So you
I've
think
carried
you've got
that
the
DNA. It's come out in me.
Right, and so
In some
let me
weird
say
way.
here that I interviewed Tim Rifat, a magician, who is actually on the dark path, according to his own admission. However, it does appear he might have circled round to the light because he's doing things for humanity at this time, which is quite interesting. And you appear to have also be on the side of the light. And you have been a very good friend with Tim Rifat for many years, correct?
It's only 2 years.
2
I only
years.
met
Oh, I
Tim
thought
2
it was,
years ago.
okay, but you talk about him as if you knew him before then.
I feel like we've known each other forever because as the grid keeper, I was a light worker. I felt like I was a pioneering light worker at the time. I was in all the forums 10 years ago. I was working with Mary Hardy in America, who built the replica of the Giza Pyramid in her garden, and she came over and we made the film series called The Holy Grail Vortex. And she took all the information from the book she wrote in the 80s, came to see me, and we went round to Avebury, Silbury Hill, Merlin's Mound, and we joined it all up and explained to everyone how it was used scientifically to levitate stones to build stone circles. And while I was on this journey, I encountered the Elohim, and I started going to crop circles. A lot of things happened in crop circles. And as far as I was concerned, I was a light worker holding the torch for the Elohim, but I never understood the Elohim until I met Tim.
Right.
And I then found out I was just being used.
Right.
like most other people. And Tim showed me who the Elohim really are.
Sure.
And when he spoke in your interview and he talked about the fifth dimensional beings, the Enochian angels, he didn't mention it, but this is the Elohim. And,
okay, and they are Anunnaki in essence.
Sort of. They're not here for our benefit. They're here for their benefit. The wage slave system. Now, a lot of people will disagree with me about this, which is fine. But the wage slave system that we all invest into, the energy you put into working, the energy that's bled off you ultimately goes to the Elohim. And they also run the Elohim Grail code of the ram's horn, which is the symbol for love. So you have two spirals coming down into a point. And because they use that as a machine code, in any love relationship on earth that's in turmoil or misery, the energy that you give off from that, again, goes to the Elohim. And Tim showed me a lot of this, and it started to change the way I saw myself as a light worker. Who am I really working for? I want to save the world and be the good guy, but am I actually making it worse? And then I spent a lot of time with Tim, so did Annie, and he showed us things that just turned everything around opposite. And it was hard to get your head round because it doesn't make sense to start off with, but when you start using Tim's products and doing what he says, your life changes for the better. And incredible things start to happen. So,
okay. Now,
yeah,
what I
if
want to
I've
do
explained
is...
that right, I don't know.
No, that's all
But the
good.
Elohim, it's a funny thing for me. I love-hate relationship with the Elohim. But they used to feed... Yeah, they fed off a certain type of energy from my body, which was... Tim told me it was my brain power with Miles. Miles told me they feed off your legs. Why, I'm not really sure.
Well, what they feed off is what I would call Kundalini energy,
Yeah.
and others would call plasma or orgone. But it's all good. Now, actually, but why we're here is to talk about sort of how you got into a relationship with James Casbolt, aka
okay.
Michael Prince.
Yeah.
And so let's kind of go there. We circled back to all of this, but let's go in that direction.
I'm remembering it all now. So, when was it? 2006, I was looking at mortgage fraud on the internet, and it led me to someone who was linked to the Probe conference, and they were doing something to do with mortgages, and I rang them up, and he said, would you like to come and stay for the weekend in Blackpool? I'll take you to this conference. And that's when I met Dave Miles. Dave
Miles?
No, older guy.
Dave Starbuck.
Dave Starbuck. Yeah, I stayed in a house with Dave Starbuck and a couple of friends. And we went to the Probe conference, and James was there. And everyone kept saying to me, you got to go and talk to this guy. And we had a chat. I didn't know what he was talking about. And he gave me his CD about the Windsors and Satanism. And me and my friend Sahel, we listened to it in the car on the way home, just looking at each other, screaming every now and again, going, what? And that was my introduction to James. But it was also the same time there was someone there doing a presentation on orbs. And I was absolutely fascinated. Do you remember that woman? She was from Wales. She did a documentary with the BBC, and all their cameras went down when they went to the ley lines. But anyway, my friend sitting next to me, sorry,
and you can actually
dog.
pan to Miles. Miles, we can have you on camera. You're a known entity, so if he does ask him a question and Miles says
I'm not sure if
something-
Miles was there at that one when I first met James. I might have met you the year after,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, so
Spoke to a few times.
I was fascinated about these orbs. What are these orbs about? And so I'll come back to James in a minute, but me and my friend, we went up to a place called Kingley Vale in Sussex, which is the European version of the Valley of the Kings. Every picture we took had hundreds of these orbs in it. We had dogs looking at us, dead cats looking at us, rabbits, people, Egyptian faces, you name it, it was there, and it blew our minds. We then contacted James Casbolt, because he'd given us his phone number, and he said, come down. So 3 of us drove all the way down to Cornwall, and we met James on the beach in St. Ives, and I'll never forget this, because we've parked. It's like 6 a.m. or something, and maybe a bit later. I can't really remember. But I've walked out onto the sand, and I'm talking to James, and this big Sea King helicopter. This was my first experience with the helicopters. Came around the cliffs, over the sand, hovered next to us, and by now there was people about. They didn't seem to care who was watching, and the side door opened, and there was a bloke standing there with all the gear on, holding something. James grabbed me and he went, "Blue beam," and threw me on the floor. And this blue light just flashed. And it hit the crowd behind. There was some people walking along by the shops. And it hit this chap. And there was a car trying to get through the crowd. And they all started fighting. They were trying to drag this chap out of the car. And it was quite chaotic. And then the helicopter just flew off. And we were like, oh, okay, what was that about? So we got to know James over the weekend, and everywhere we took a picture, we'd have pictures of orbs. And then it was like, well, come and stay with us. So James came to stay in Chichester. We went up Kingly Vale, more orbs. We went to Goodwood. James started seeing the orbs. And James would point and go, "There's an orb floating there." I'd take a picture and it would be there. And that happened a lot. And it's funny because I was looking back on some of our older pictures the other day, and it reminds me of something that Tim says about the parasites that latch onto people. You can see them in the pictures on the backs of our heads. You can see their faces looking back. And it wasn't until now I'd really looked back and noticed that. So yeah, I started spending a lot of time with James, and then someone got in touch with me who was JFK's personal advisor back in the days, Michael. And he said, "I need to go to Balmoral Castle and stop a satanic ritual. Will you come with me?" I'm like, okay. So he's come over and he said, "Bring James with you." So we've all gone up to Balmoral Castle on this great adventure. And we went into the castle, we went round the back. Michael had rope with him. He was going to climb the Queen's obelisk. I'm walking along like this going, we're going to get caught. And we did. We got caught. But nothing happened. We were just told, and it was the same words. When I said I went up to that UFO crash, or the plane crash, and the policeman said a certain thing, it was exactly the same words. I can't remember it exactly now, but I know it was the same. Okay. And we turned around and went away. And we went to the church, Balmoral Church. And I remember standing there with James, and I said, "Let's change the vortex." And we couldn't do it. There was just this darkness creeping in over us. And we tried to change the vortex for 20 minutes. And our minds kept going blank. Next thing you know, a big Range Rover comes skidding into the car park. And James just screams MI6. And we're like, oh no, what do we do? So we've jumped in the 4x4 and we've gone off up the road, and they're chasing us. And they chased us for 10 miles. We found a hotel, ran into the hotel, looked out of the room, and it had been changed now of a police car. There was a police car parked in the car park. And anyway, long story short, we went off to a stone circle and we did lots of other stuff, and lots of other mad things happened. But that was, we were into the same things. We became really good friends. And that's what we'd do. We'd go off and have these adventures together. And we ended up at Peasmore.
Of all places.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me, though, did he reveal at the time that he was, a super soldier? I don't know, maybe the lingo wasn't used at that time. Did he talk about his altars or any of that stuff?
Not much. No, I never really asked him that much about all this funny stuff. And because I never knew whether to believe it all at the time, or what... I never knew whether what he believed was real or not real, and I'm not sure whether sometimes he did.
According to him, what even now you would probably say the same thing.
Yeah, I would.
You don't know what he believes is true.
But I know James. I used to go to a church and say, right, the vortex is moving up or down. I'm going to change it for this reason. James would see before I even did anything. I'd say, "James, which way is the energy going?" He'd look at the church tower and go, "It's going up." And I would confirm, and he was right every single time. Mm-hmm. So I know he started to see ley lines and the orbs and things like that. And as for being a super soldier and having an invincible skeleton, I'm not sure how much of that I believe is true. I believe James believes a lot of it's true. I know James can fight. I've sparred with him. I've seen him shadow fight. He's very fast. You know,
Okay,
he does
well,
have abilities and skills, but how
at
far
a
that goes, I don't know.
So we're gonna, I'm gonna have to fire some questions at you so that we can get this kind of condensed.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, I was in touch with James Casbolt over the internet. I don't even know I guess it was emails. I don't know, but it was quite a while ago, right? In the early days of Camelot.
Yeah.
And he was sending us information.
Yeah.
Quite good information, actually, and it's still on Camelot for those that are interested.
Yeah.
Some quite, accurate, very astonishing, quite, specific, not general, nonsense. And then at a certain point, he changed his altar into Michael Prince.
Yeah.
And there was a real substantial change.
Yeah.
Now, prior to that, I was supposed to interview him. He was supposed to show up for an interview, and he never did.
Wow.
Here in England.
Know that. Okay.
With James Casbolt, not with the Michael Prince.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you aware of when the changeover went to Michael Prince?
God, I'm trying to remember. Whether it was before or after he went to the NSA.
Well, okay, when you say he went to the NSA, where did he go? To the United States? Is that what you're trying to say?
I think from memory it was Fort Lauderdale. And no one believed him. But he showed me the evidence. James was definitely in the American Army. I've seen his yearbook with the colour photos in of James with all these other army people, and it's a full-on glossy book. No, I don't see the point of someone.
I've seen some of that as well.
Yeah, I've held it. I've read it,
Okay.
and I've held his son's birth certificate that said he was born in a military hospital. And when Hayley had the baby, they wanted it to happen at home in their flat. James swears to me the baby was born in the flat, but we now think that they recreated his flat in an underground base and put them all in it. The birth certificate says, I should know, I can't remember. It was underneath, I don't think it was Denver Airport. It might have been Colorado, something. It was underneath some airport, this military thing. It was written on this birth certificate, and he showed it to me.
Actually, I think it was in the southern United States over towards the east, not the west.
Was it?
But I don't know why I think that.
I can't remember.
Okay, so...
Yeah, don't quote me on any of that.
No, it doesn't,
places.
It's not like that crucial.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, he became Michael Prince.
Yeah.
At a certain point, I interviewed him at a UFO conference that happened in, wasn't Laughlin, but it was kind of outside the outskirts of it. It was a strange place that time that Laurie and Fenton set up for super soldiers.
Yeah.
Was that it?
Yes.
Oh, you were there. That's right. We had that whole story. You had that strange
I wish I was there.
experience. You didn't go.
I'd have loved to have been at that if that happened.
But at that point, he was definitely on the Michael Prince side of things.
This might have happened before then. Because he thought he was the reincarnation of Prince Michael, Archangel Michael.
Oh. Okay, that's pretty general.
Michael Prince. Yeah,
right.
That's what he used to say.
Okay, fair enough.
And I have problems with that.
Okay, well,
for other reasons.
I would too, for a number of other reasons.
I'm not saying it's not true, but I have problems with certain entities that have done certain things.
Yeah, and these so-called angels are not really angelic in the sense we think about them.
No, well, I just want to say it. So Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael are the Abraham ritual, which made the Goyim, and we're all Goyim, so I don't approve. I really don't.
Well, it's okay. But but you knew both individuals, right?
Yeah.
The same person, but in different altars.
Yeah.
And when you related to Michael Prince, were you relating to him the way you were relating to James Casbolt?
Yes. I didn't like all that stuff.
But didn't you notice a personality change? Because I did.
Yeah, bits and bobs, but I didn't know it was down to his experiences or what he'd gone through and that was changing him, or whether it was all to his mind control. I was never quite sure about that.
All right, what about the idea that his father was, I don't know, some kind of petty thief or something, and
I'll tell
they were
you
both
exactly
thrown
what his
into
father
jail?
did.
Do you think that was true?
Yeah, I do. His father was a drug smuggler for MI6, cocaine.
Okay.
So he had a fruit and veg company, which was linked to Spain. So they'd pack up all the fruit and veg, put a few kilos of coke in it. That would come into the beach in St. Ives, and there'd be the mini black helicopters and everything. But his father was told, this is black ops. If you get caught, we'll all disappear. I can't remember if he got caught or grassed up, but something went wrong and he ended up in prison. And because of what he knew, they killed him. That was James's motivation for everything. Everything you've ever heard from James, he was motivated by his father's death in prison because he was killed for the wrong reasons.
Okay.
For working for the wrong people.
Right.
And I believe that's true. I've always felt it's right and it's always made sense to me.
All right.
I really
But
do.
in a certain sense, somehow that ended up, I think James went to prison as well around that time. When his father went into prison, subsequently, James was in
Did
prison
he?
for a period of time.
I didn't know that.
This is just my memory.
Yeah.
It might have been
true.
part of the
Yeah.
James Casbolt story, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It could have been. He was addicted to heroin at one point, wasn't he?
Was he?
So why did he go to prison? Was it drug related?
It was drug related to what his father's business was. That was my understanding.
Okay.
You know,
I
related
might
somehow.
know. I just can't remember.
Okay,
He
it doesn't
probably
matter.
did tell me this.
So, what was interesting is that Casbolt was quite an intellectual.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Whereas Michael Prince is much more, for lack of a better word, man of action.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I get
And
that.
when I interviewed him at that conference, he was with Max Spears.
Yeah.
And he was also indicating to me, and I think probably everyone else, and Miles can substantiate this if he likes, was that he was running, as he called it, all the other super soldiers. Like in some managerial capacity
Yeah.
or supervisory, he was in charge. And there's no doubt that
Yeah.
Max Spears was looking to Michael at that time as sort of taking his direction from him, what he could say, what he couldn't say.
Yeah.
On camera, he basically says,
This is stop.
okay, we're still running though.
No, but we're not recording your mics.
Okay.
Shut that off. What's that? Okay, that doesn't matter. Okay, continue, sorry. Work it out.
Okay, the mic's no longer working?
No, that backup mic, those mics are going.
Okay, that's
These
all
are
right.
right?
That's
Okay.
all right. That's all right.
So,
Yeah.
so he said on camera that he was a Nazi and proud of it.
Okay.
And I think they both acknowledged at that point. Then there was a happening at that conference in which Miles and a bunch of people that night believed they were taken away.
All of us.
Right.
Yeah.
But I was not. I was in the hotel,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
I was with,
Yeah.
I think I was with someone. I can't remember who I was with there, actually. Strange.
Well, for the record, you interviewed Belinda Leslie, who explained the whole thing.
Oh, no, not really.
No,
No.
everybody was taken.
Yeah.
And you were part of it, and everybody was told to be compliant. I was taken the second.
I
part.
was not, though. But Melinda's memory will also be altered, you know. Everyone has their own approach. It was an interesting evening, but that's what you came up with in the morning, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people substantiated what you had to say. But there was a happening that night, for sure. It's just my intuition that I was left out of that group for some reason, whatever that was. I did an interesting thing that morning. I was part of a UFO sort of experiencer group, and I started going around the circle and reading everybody.
Right.
Not something I ever do.
Yeah.
So that was quite unusual. So that was an unusual conference, okay?
Yeah, so I wish I was there.
Interesting people were there.
Because I see that Super Soldier program as a failed program. I don't see how it can work.
Oh, I do, but you know that's a whole.
Yeah.
But that goes back to our interview with Duncan O'Finian and the whole lead up, and even Pete Peterson acknowledged that.
Yeah.
But this has to do with mind control.
Yeah.
You know, and augmentation
Yeah,
of
because
the
they were
physical
used.
body.
It all started with the Star Wars films.
Well, I don't know if it started with them.
Well,
but
the main, the
George
big,
Lucas tapped into that.
because. So, can I talk about? Yeah. We know the producer of Star Wars very well.
Okay, so
And-
not George Lucas, then who?
No, Robert Watts
All right.
produced Papillon. What else did he work on? Space Odyssey 2001. produced all the Indiana Jones films.
Okay, and what's his take?
I've sat with him for hours and he's told me the most amazing stories about how they first got to make Star Wars. And I'm sitting there nearly crying my eyes, like, I can't believe he's telling me all this. And I had a wonderful relationship with Robert, and we were going to make films together about crop circles and all this. And then go back to Tim. Tim teaches me all about the Jedi program. And he said what they did, they were bleeding the force off everyone through the cinema screens, channeling it through the ley lines into the Pentagon, and that would fuel, that would where the power would be come from to make the super soldiers for the Jedi program. Yeah.
This energy off humans can be used for many purposes.
Yeah.
And it actually links up to what's called the Vril.
Yeah.
So you know that.
Yeah.
So, okay, go.
So,
but let's talk about what this guy thought.
So I tried talking about some of this stuff before, never really wanted to talk about it. And we know, like, Annie used to date his brother. So they know, she knows him ever so well.
Sure.
Was it last year before last? Yeah. There was a conference in Worthing, and we haven't seen him for a few years. And big Star Wars conference in Worthing. Robert's up on the stage. Boba Fett, his other brother's there, and a few other people. Jeremy Bullock. And we were like, yeah. So he's always, whenever he sees Annie, he's like, Annie, yay, and all this. So we've gone into this room afterwards to talk to him, but now we've met Tim. We've known Tim for a few months now. He didn't want to talk to us. He didn't want to look at us. He didn't want to, and it was sad. I felt really sad. Even today I do. Didn't want to say, there's no conversation.
Okay, but what is his contribution?
He looked quite afraid.
Okay, but what is I got that. But what is his contribution, or in your mind, to what you think is the Star Wars sort of place of where the germination of the idea of a super soldier came from? Is this what you're trying to say?
He brought the whole thing together, and I think
wouldn't have happened without him. They've admitted that.
Yeah. So Robert
produced
because that's just what he does. But we don't, because we can.
Well, okay,
we never found this out.
Okay, is he taking credit for George Lucas's?
No, that's what people in the industry have said.
No, just producing it. No, he didn't write it or direct it or anything like that. He just produced it. He just put the whole thing together for them, with them.
He was like the location manager, but he gelled the whole thing.
He was executive producer.
He made it happen.
He's the make it happen man.
Yes.
That's
I
what
mean,
he does.
I've worked in Hollywood for 20 years. I'm very familiar with the process. But, what I'm interested in, I mean, would he do an interview, this individual? No? Well, you said he was on stage.
He wouldn't even,
speaking
talking
publicly.
about normal Star Wars in front of people dressed up in Jedi stuff and Luke Skywalker.
Fair enough.
It was that type of conference.
There was a lot of truth in metaphor and
but the
all
fact that he wouldn't even, he said hello. I got him to sign some more of his pictures for me.
You never asked him about it though. You never found out.
I couldn't.
Is he afraid of Tim because he's gone against the?
No, I don't think
magicians?
I don't think it's the fact that it's Tim. I think someone has told him that we know. We know what the Jedi program was really about.
Okay, what do you think it was really about?
It was about taking the energy off the public to make super soldiers.
Right, so that's still a super soldier program. It doesn't matter where they get the energy.
Yeah.
Right.
But he won't, like I said, he wouldn't talk to us. And I don't think I'll ever speak to him again. I don't know how that would happen. It's a shame, really. I really like him.
Yeah,
I respect what he's done, no matter what that was about.
This
I respect
actually sounds shades of Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
and he
must have known, he's English, he must have known Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah, oh he did, And he made, do you know Secret of the Sphinx with Charlton Heston? He made that. Yeah, Secrets Under the Sphinx. You can find it on the internet. It's really old, from the 80s.
Is this a documentary?
Yeah.
I see.
And they were talking about all this weirdy stuff and a UFO being in the ground under it and all these other things.
All right.
So I know he was out there. And Robert was given, he told me, he was given a cassette tape for meditation. And his friend said to him, it was someone famous, gave it to him and said, when you're relaxed, play this tape. Anyway, so he's gone to Egypt with Charlton Heston to make this documentary. Back then, you could get inside the pyramid. He's in the king's chamber. Sure. He's on his own. He's got his Walkman.
Yeah.
And he sat there He's not listened to any of it yet. He's pushed play, and the voice came on, and it said, "Breathe in deeply." Now imagine yourself sitting in the King's Chamber of the Giza Pyramid.
Right.
I thought, what a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
So he's had people come to him. He's been involved in the real Crystal Skull, which is what Steven
been around
Spielberg
them.
then went on to make the film about it. So,
All right.
yeah, this man's got a lot to tell the world, a lot to offer, but whether we'll ever get that chance to
Okay,
hear
and his
from him,
name
I
is
don't know.
Robert
Watts.
Watts.
Yeah,
I think
anyone
I've heard
can look
of
him up. Wikipedia,
Yeah.
IMDb, whatever.
No.
Yeah. Love him to bits. I love him to bits.
Okay,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
if you think he knew Kubrick? Yeah, back in the day.
Yeah. He was location manager for 2001, I think, wasn't he? I don't think he was producer, so he would have known.
So
him,
he
yeah.
would be maybe a bit younger than Kubrick
Yeah,
at the time.
and so you remember the monolith
Sure.
on the moon?
Yeah.
Do you remember Wilson's monolith?
I
In
don't.
one of his films, he found this tower on the moon like that with a bridge coming off it.
Sure.
We even went to show it to Patrick Moore. And when we sat there and showed this to Robert, we watched all Wilson's films with us. And he went, "I knew there was one there." That's all I've ever got out of him, really.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
So if you ever get the chance to speak to him, do it. But
Yeah, sounds fun.
You know?
Sounds like a fascinating guy. I'm very interested in the whole Kubrick mystery. What he traded off in order to do what he did. What kind of deal was made, and the fact that they just had an exhibit at the museum here in London.
Yeah.
Like 6 months ago of all of Kubrick's
Really?
stuff. Yeah,
Oh,
it was
wow, I didn't know
fabulous.
that.
But
be nice
they
to
don't
go
breathe
to.
a word about what he was really talking about
No.
in his films.
And the thing is, it's like Robert, he's very old now, and it's going to get to the point where none of these people will be
Where
left to
nobody
tell us
remembers,
anything.
yeah.
And it'll be gone. And
That's
I think
true.
that's such a shame,
That's
really.
true.
You
Okay,
know,
now
I really
tell
do.
me, okay, so you have had a lot of dealings with John Walson. And
I know him better than anyone.
all right.
I really do.
I'll take
yeah.
your word for it.
Yeah,
And-
we spent a
and-
lot of time together over the years, a lot. Yeah.
Now, are you able to tell the crashed UFO story that you told me earlier off camera
Yeah.
on this?
Yeah.
Because I think it's quite fascinating, and
Yeah.
especially the very tall alien. That's quite
Yeah.
cool. I mean, and John actually filmed the thing, and then you've got it on the internet, but people
Yeah.
don't really realize, right?
No one believes it's real, so
Yeah.
what can you do? And then I showed you the other film
Yes.
where there's two aliens either inside a spaceship or inside an underground base. You know, the person holding the camera is very scared. You can hear it in their voice. You can just about make out the table and a blanket over someone, and the alien standing there with his hand on the leg, and the camera's looking down from the top, and the alien looks
up. Yeah. It's
And
quite
I told you
interesting.
earlier, when he gave me that, he was very upset about it, and didn't say I couldn't talk about it, just said never ask him about it. And for me, it's the most mind-blowing thing I've ever seen. I mentioned earlier, when we were at Probe, I had a photo of this alien looking straight into the camera, and I gave it to one of the remote viewers. And if you're watching this, I'm sorry I did that to you. At the back of the room, and he put his hand on it and just went, "Ah, don't do that to me," and grabbed his head. And I went, "Oh, this is real." Now, yeah, people don't believe it, and people have said, "Oh, you took that off a movie." And I'm like, well, can someone just tell me where I took this from? Because Wilson gave it to me on a raw tape from a video camera, and I just looped it up because it was only 3 seconds long, put it on YouTube, that's it.
Okay, so let's talk about there was what you guys thought was a crashed UFO, right?
Yeah,
You
so
thought it was a crashed
right,
UFO.
I'll keep this one short because I
And
could talk for hours
that
about
would be
this.
good. And then it wasn't a crashed UFO, but
It was an aeroplane.
describe this setting and everything that happened.
So, a friend rang me up, something's fallen out of the sky. We've driven up to the top of Goodwood, round the back. There's policemen there, a fire engine, lots of blue lights. That's all we saw at that time. And the policeman said the same thing that was told to me at Balmoral Castle. We've then gone up to the hill, looked down at the lights, couldn't work out what was going on. There was a military fire engine there as well. Where did that come from? And then this silver light came down from space, 2 miles over Chichester, had a bit of a rainbow coloured trail behind it, and a green light came out the front, flew around the South Downs and came past us. Still to this day, the most weirdest thing that's ever happened to me in my life, and I've seen weird.
And you had a camera on you.
Had a camera on me. I couldn't move. I didn't know what to do because oh, I must be in dream time. This isn't real. This doesn't happen. It's not making a noise. It's off the ground. It's a light. What? It's quite big. The size of this room, like this really. Not as high, but yeah, about this. And it went up the hill to the crash site. We've run back up there, looked down, it all looked the same, so we've gone away. It wasn't till a year later that I mentioned it to John Leonard Wilson, and we said the days, and he said, oh, I've got something for you, and he gave me this tape. And I watched it back, and he'd filmed it from the opposite end through his telescope.
So he was on the site because he doesn't live far away from where it happened.
Doesn't live far away, and he saw the blue lights and just zoomed into the blue lights of his telescope, and there's all this weird stuff happening. It was when he watched the film back, and he went, oh, what's that? Now, when you watch the film back, the green light that flew past me, you see, because that's only still pictures at the beginning, isn't it? Which tells us he's got that on film. Because he's taken that still.
Yeah, because
so where's the film of the green light that he's not given me?
John Wilson, we know, is always very careful not to overstep.
If he shows you something, 90% of it you haven't seen.
Right.
Which is just mind-blowing, because what you're looking at is really good. So in the video, you take a still, you see the green light that flew past me, you see that other light, which could have been from that Green Goddess fire engine, or it could have been another UFO. I really don't know. I don't know. Hear you. And then you see the intradimensional etheric alien standing there about 30 foot tall with a ray gun in his hand, overlooking the whole situation. And you're going, what? What's that? It's incredible. So when you watch the film, you see in the background there's a Cessna two-seater plane on the ground. There's 3 people standing by the plane. I haven't told you this bit yet. This is what James said to me. He said to me, right, so the plane. So there's 3 people standing around this plane. You can see them in my film. James said to me, that's you. And I'm going, what? What do you mean that's me? He said, you pulled the alien out of the plane. Now, it makes sense that there was 3 of us. The policeman said the same thing to me that was said at Balmoral. So all I remember is, you can't be here, whatever, turn around and go. Had I gone in there and done something for them? I don't know. But the height of the people are the same height. Sahel was with me. So the tall one looks like me. The middle one looks like Sahel. And the short one looks like my friend Matt from Glastonbury. And I'm going, but it was us 3 that were there. This is weird. So I don't know if I did pull the alien out. I've got no memory of it. But I do know that I'm like walking poison to aliens, which is why I was thrown out of Peasmore. So that doesn't quite make sense, unless the only thing I'm not poisoned to is draconians. But then that was a grey, and I'm not too keen on grey. So.
Well, greys work for draconians.
Exactly. So there's something I've still got to find out there. But
okay, but I want you to tell about how the Cessna was flown.
Yeah. So the Cessna was flown from Portsdown Hill, which is Portsmouth Navy base. And the grey was put into the plane. A Navy Admiral flew the plane to Goodwood because there's an airfield there. And it was when it got just before the airport, it was shot out of the sky, just so happened to land at one of the highest points around there. When you look at the film, the only thing pulled out is a grey alien. And
okay, but was it actually shot out of the sky, or was it actually gently put down so it didn't?
Put down.
Yeah, it's not smashed in smithereens. No, it actually was made to land.
My friend that witnessed it just saw a flash of light and then this light coming down. Now it didn't go. It was like that. Yeah,
and it's not demolished. The plane is still intact.
The only damage you can see on the plane is, well, actually the wheels. Yeah, Cessna. Yeah. Well, whether it has wheels that come out or not, I don't know. But that plane is sitting flat on the ground.
Right.
So the wheels are either squashed or the wheels were never. Right. Out.
Exactly.
Yeah. So.
So I don't call that a plane crash. I call that something else.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Not even a UFO crash, is it?
No. It's very interesting.
Just some sort of incident.
So you believe there was an alien delivered, a grey or whatever, and then go ahead.
So, in the film, this thing's pulled out, and then what you think is the firemen walk over to the plane, and as they go to touch this thing, their hands light up, And they bring it over to the left of the film where you see the big light with the funny beam, which could just be because of the camera. And then they're all standing there. And when you freeze frame it and take a still shot or look at it on a giant big 60-inch telly, you can see that these three tall things have got little horns on their heads, dark wings behind them, their knees are in a slightly different place, and they sort of walk slightly funny. And their necks do look really long and their chins are a bit funny, but that's all you can sort of make out. But it's the tall one stands there and he puts his arm around this short grey. It reminds me of a mini version of the Marshmallow Man, or whatever it was, that was in the Ghostbusters film. That big giant thing, the white thing, but a mini version, that's what it looks like. And then it walks back to the light with this thing, and then the camera sort of moves around, and you can see the fireman standing by the fire engine, just watching, and I'm going, oh. So that still picture, I printed it off, I put a copyright thing on it to do with the film, gave it to James. James goes to the NSA, got the picture in his pocket, and he gives it to, who did you say it was? Carol Thatcher.
Yeah.
Head of MJ12. And the more you said that sounds really familiar, like I might have known that. I can't remember. Right. Given her the picture, and she's looked at it, got a pen in her hand, put it in her mouth, snapped it, screwed her face up, and said to James, where the fucking hell did you get this from? Oh, Gridkeeper gave it to me. She turned around and said, these are winged draconians. As talked about in the Old Testament, no one in the world is ever supposed to take a photo of them. Now, when James said to me, that's you in the picture, in the video, he remote viewed the whole thing. He spent the whole week concentrating on the film, looking at it and everything. And he said, so he gave me that, and he gave me one name. He said, I've got this name, but I don't recognise it, and I know nothing about it. And he said, all I've got is Hatton, as in Hatton Gardens. So Hatton. Now, I was obsessed with something called the Phoenix Journals many years ago, channelled in the 70s or 80s or early 90s, I can't really remember.
Yes.
Yeah. In Nevada, to this woman, and she put all this information down, and it was all channelled from a draconian called Commander Hatton.
I remember this actually, having come across that.
And it blew my mind, and I thought, winged draconians, he's a tall one. I've always had a thing for this Hatton. Where is my connection? And James used to take the piss out of me. There's loads. James knows loads about me that I don't know, about my life, that I'll never know unless he tells me. And he used to make jokes about all that stuff. But anyway, that's probably another story. I won't open that can of worms. It's all to do with Enki and Enlil and all sorts of things.
Oh, all right.
And Amun Ra and all that other stuff.
Right.
But yeah, I've just lost my train of thought. But
no,
yeah,
I mean, okay, this is basically what happened. So the guy got delivered, then he got rescued, basically taken off by the Draconians, in theory.
Yes.
And this whole incident all happened on this Goodwood, this mountain, which
Goodwood's
actually
a special place.
John Walson has done a lot of shooting from Goodwood, as I understand it. And
it's all done from Goodwood, all of it.
Yeah. Okay.
You know?
All of it. I didn't know.
And then there's the time where he showed me the spaceships, because he always used to say to me, come and have a look through the telescope, I'll show you it's real and all this. And you know, I'm human, I've got that doubt. Well, what if it's not real and I've gone this far of it? I don't want it to not be real. What if he's lied to me? Oh my God, what am I going to do to him? Oh. So we've gone up the top of Goodwood, and he's laid, I think I told you earlier, he's laid down on the ground and he's holding a telescope like this in his arms on the ground. And he's now following the moon and something else, and I'm going, how do you do that? I don't know if any of you have ever tried to hold a telescope and follow anything in space. No one in the world's ever done it, apart from this man.
I can tell you a similar thing with John Walson in Malta.
Yeah.
He had a fairly big telescope that he actually shipped over there in a plane.
That would have been the same one, the plane one, that's the same one.
In a doggy carrier or something. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And that he pulled along with wheels. And we wanted to look at the UFOs, because that night we went on top of a very high-rise hotel. Yeah. Forget it, I think it was the Intercontinental, but don't quote me on that. So we're up on top very night, and it's kind of hazy, and we wanted to see the UFOs. And then what he would do was he would actually know where to go and see. And so he'd aim the telescope, and see that later I realized that that's not so easy to do, is to know where is the UFO going to be so that you can track it, right?
Yeah.
So he's very good at he has sort of a sixth sense, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
And he's actually said this before, where he knows where to focus the telescope. He gets sort of a message. And it's because he's so at one with his equipment, you know, that it just becomes, part of him. And he gets the message and he just does whatever he's getting the indicator to do. I don't think he would mind us saying this about him.
No, but
you know,
when
it's very interesting.
That time when he was doing that, and he said to me, choose a star. I said, Sirius, point it at Sirius. And he zoomed in, and you see this light, and as he gets closer, the light starts to change. And all of a sudden, there's just this spaceship. There was this square-looking thing with a thing sticking out. Not the light you'd see of a star. And I just lost my shit and freaked out. I smoked about 20 fags, or half an hour. I was just going through them like this. I was pacing up and down. I was jumping around. I was banging myself on the head. Why? Because he had his video camera on the back of the telescope and there was no tape in it. Because I thought he was going to trick me by playing something and pretend he's looking at it. But it was real.
But it wasn't recorded either.
No, you couldn't record. There's no tape in it. I recorded it from my video camera.
Right.
So I recorded him filming it, and you can see the back of the camera and everything.
Right.
I've put that on YouTube. Of course, most people didn't believe it, but why would we believe all this stuff? How conditioned we all are, you know? Spaceships, what are you talking about? You know, even now in 2019, it's still a bit out there.
All right.
But it isn't, is it? It's real.
No, it's very real.
Like, skepticism keeps you sane.
Oh yeah, and the other one kills you or something. I can't remember, but it reminds me of that. Yeah.
So now we're at this very interesting place, and Miles, you were talking about Silsbury Hill, right? And this Silbury Hill, and there's a base in, what is it called?
Yatesbury Field.
Yatesbury.
It's a former airfield. Well, it still is. If you come here to do crop circles and see them, you can take a little micro ride from there.
A lot of horrible crop circles used to appear there. The small ones, the dirty, horrible, the ones you walk in and go, I'm walking straight out. Used to appear at the end of Yates Field. Yeah.
Yes, and that's the ones that did.
Do you remember when they did the Weetabix one? They did the Weetabix one just for a laugh or something to do with... And even then there was a small, horrible crop circle that was put near that.
Okay, when you say the horrible, are these the ones built by the military? Why is it horrible? Why do you call it that?
It felt horrible. It
felt bad
energy and heady.
Right.
Because I believe that crop circles are made by all sorts of things.
Sure.
And even that people are making crop circles, we shouldn't ignore them, because what made them make the crop circles? And you know, if you're I look at crop circles like wave signatures, like a homeopathic remedy. Not that they're all made. Most of them are remedies. They're not, I don't think. I used to wish they were. I used to wish they were all good and everything was good for us, but it's not at all. It's not.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
so now you know Tim Rifat for a while now.
2 years.
2 years. But you've actually become the person that he trusts to have his videos, put his videos online.
I'm his trusted sidekick. Okay. So to say, yeah.
Is there anything you want to say about your relationship?
Yeah. I want to tell everyone how we met Tim. I finally got to America to go and see Mary Hardy, and I went to the pyramid, and I learnt how to open and close pyramids, all sorts of stuff. And they were part of a group that was stopping using vortex energy to stop the superstorm that hit Florida and everything. Was it 2 or 3 years ago?
Yes.
So we went to the fountain in Brighton, did our thing with our dowsing and stuff, and as we walked away, I looked round, and this guy with a shopping trolley, looked like an old tramp, sorry Tim, but that's how you looked, walked up to the fountain, and he's bent over, plugged the crystal into himself, and he's drawing these squares, and he looked like a complete nutter. But I thought, well, we must look like nutters to a lot of people, so I said, Annie, I'm going to go and speak to him. So I went over and I said, excuse me, are you working with the ley lines? And he went, yes, I am. I went, oh, brilliant, we do that. Thinking we know what we're doing. And you meet Tim and it comes to ley lines, you realise you don't know anything. So I said, oh, what are you doing? He said, oh, I'm, codes and all this. And I said, oh, I've just been to America, stop the big superstorm. I said, we did it. What we did actually worked. He looked me in the eye and he went, well, I started it.
Smiling.
And he smiled, but we both smiled at each other. I didn't understand why he would say that to me, but something inside me told me that he was right. I now know why he did it. It's incredible why he does all that stuff. So he then said, here's my website, have a look. Within 5 days, I've come back with a big wad of money. Tim, I need these crystals. You're the one I've been waiting for. I knew you were coming, I just didn't know it was going to happen like this. I was told years ago, I've got an incredibly psychic, we've all got psychic friends, but this girl, she's the one that I rang when I was on top of the hill with the fire story I told you earlier. That's her. Yes. And she said to me, she was the one that told me about my true Amun Ra connection before I realised it was written down somewhere. She told me just by looking at my hands and touching my head. And she said to me, you can move mountains. I'm going, what does that mean? She said, no, you can do anything. You just don't know it yet. You don't know who you are. And when you find out, you will have celestial weapons. I only realised this a month ago. The celestial weapons that I now use, and they're all sitting in my bag here, are all from Tim.
Okay.
And I know, and to move a mountain, I'm not going to tell everyone how to do it, but it's easy. Using Tim's technology, it's easy to move a mountain. Basically, it's an earthquake.
All right.
Right. I wouldn't do it, but yeah, I know exactly how to do it. And I was always told, because of my bloodline, who I am and everything, I will meet someone and I will be given celestial weapons that will change the world. Not just weapons, tools. And I know I go on about Tim all the time, but I've seen a lot, I've done a lot. All I wanted was the best for humanity. I want to see humanity evolve. I don't care for aliens and anything else because they're not humanity. I want to see the core of humanity evolve. And as far as I can tell, Tim's the only one that's brought anything to the table that's working and changes things. And I've seen that for myself. And, my health is incredible. I've had a smashed ankle my whole life. It's agony. Every winter I can't walk properly. I bought health crystals from Tim. I feel like I'm 16 again. My arthritis has gone away. He's taught me how I can eat whatever I like and change the molecules in the food, and you taste and feel the difference. I'm using his anti-aging technology, which Annie's also using. Oh yeah, and we've been tested on a bioresonance machine that we've been tested on for years. After the UFO incident, I was tested on the bioresonance machine, and the woman looked at me and she said, have you ever come into contact with an alien artifact? I'm going, what are you asking me that for? She said, you've got more gamma radiation in you than I've ever seen in anyone in my entire life of doing this. I'm going, oh, well, I'm going to die or what? But since I met Tim and he gave me my nuclear crystals, it's gone. Straight away, gone. So I started using Tim's anti-aging health technology. And he went to get tested on the bioresonance machine, and what the machine does, they should have one of these in every hospital. I don't know why they don't. It tells you everything about your body. And it said blood age, so they can measure your blood cell to your year age. So if you drink and smoke, so I'm 45, my blood age might be 50 or 60. It doesn't go the other way. Biological cellular age. So Annie's came back as a 10-year-old girl. And we're going, what? Is the machine broken? What's going on? And this woman, she does this all day long, every day with people. 20 years. So we've gone back together. Annie's gone in first. She came out, she said, I'm not allowed to tell you my results. So I've gone in, and the woman just looked at me and she said, look, your result is the same as Annie's. And I said, what is it? She said, you've got a biological blood age of 0. I'm like, what? How? What does that mean? She said, well, as an adult, your blood cells regenerate roughly every 7 years, so we age. As a newborn baby, you're regenerating, I think it's every 7 days. She said, you're regenerating every 7 days. She said, you won't look any older than this. I'm like, so here I am on camera. If you're all still here in 30 years' time, and I look really old, it didn't work. But here, I've actually got it in my bag. I carry it around with me. This is the company that tests us, the Natural Therapy Advice people. And this tells you lots of things. It tells you about I smoke. Don't mind people knowing I smoke. I love smoking. I smoke good tobacco. I don't smoke crap tobacco. Not really see.
All right, so you're showing us
There you
this.
go. Biological age is none. I know it's just a bit of paper and I could have made that up, but that came from a company.
Okay.
And to use some crystal products that aren't like any other crystals on the planet and then come back with that. And then
We're actually now customers because of that.
yeah, and they're some of our best customers now. That one of them's a brain surgeon, and they've bought health crystals for all their kids and everything from Tim, and they're loving it, and they're seeing results already. They've bought magic kits, and they're going the full hog, and
scientists as well.
and they're scientists, and they get it, and they're seeing it, and I think, wow, good for you. So it's quite exciting. And
All
they've
right.
even
Fair
developed
enough.
Tim's anti-aging crystal by firing a laser through it, creating a box so that they can have a room where people can come in and have therapy using one of Tim's crystals. And we rang him up and said, is this going to work? And he said, that will work. So he's given them permission to do it. And I'm thinking, wow, we need more people. There's quite a few people with the anti-aging stuff, and I'm trying to get people to go and find these machines to go, get yourself tested, talk about it. You know, people need evidence. You know, no one knows who Tim is. He's just some random guy that's come out of nowhere claiming he's got all the answers. Well, where's the evidence? And Tim's the guy that goes, yeah, I've done all the study, I've done all the science, I've produced it, I've worked with the Russians, I've done this, it works. He'll just come along and go, it works. And you go, well, prove it to me. I don't care. You don't have to buy it off me. He doesn't care if anyone buys any of this off him or not, which is a weird one to get your head around. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, and there's some of his stuff is really expensive. And people was like, he should be giving it all away for free. Now, if Tim helps, I mentioned Goyim earlier, you can't just go and help a Goyim without being condemned by cosmic law because you're guilty of... Anyway, that's another story. So, what did you just say?
Wait.
That's it, the chakra thing.
What do you consider a goyim? What is that?
Someone who takes all the shit from all the rich people. So, the elite families, the 13 families, are descended from the 13 moneylenders that Jesus threw out of the temple. They were Sanhedrin Illuminati, founded by King Solomon, who did the Goetic demons. So the 13 bloodline families that run today are all descended from them. So they had to perform, are we done? Huge occult rituals for their future ancestors. The Abraham ritual with Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael allowed that bloodline to stay in power, live a long time, gain a lot of stuff. But the Jesus thing was to then put Jesus on a cross, which is a box, consciousness in a box. If you fold up a cross, you've got a box, which is the cube of Saturn. Mm-hmm. And that was nothing but a scapegoat ritual so that any of the descendants of the 13 bloodlines in the future can do whatever they want to the Goyim, and the Goyim still suffer, and they get all the karma from the elite for doing it. I've never agreed with that. And that's a core secret of the Illuminati, never been spoken about on camera by anyone in the world apart from now. Tim does a chakra removal service, and I think most people think it's a joke. And he had a lot of issues with her chakras and her awareness.
Lots of them with Kundalini and
She's done Kundalini work, she's done all of that stuff.
Reiki,
Yeah.
chakras.
And Tim said, well, I can remove them all, pull out the Zion parasite. So the Zion parasite is installed into every human when they're born. It becomes your inner voice. Now, this is another interview for me to explain all this properly, or people will just argue with me and go, that's not true.
Yeah, I mean, but it's okay.
So-
I mean, this is a launch pad.
Yeah,
so to
so I said to Annie, we should get this chakra removal done. So it was expensive. It's not cheap. It's thousands. Now, why would Tim charge $10,000 to remove your chakras? Why can't he just do it for you? But the amount of energy he has to use to pull them out,
Okay,
and
well, he's
then
not
pull
pulling
out.
out a chakra. He's
So-
pulling out, he might be pulling things out of it.
No, destroying it. Gone. She's
Right,
got no
yeah,
chakras.
I mean, that's
burnt
your
away.
point of view, but yeah.
So,
From my point of view, I knew
Yeah.
how I felt before. The week
Yeah.
before,
Right.
I was attacked non-stop and was
And he-
suicidal.
But it's not the
he
same.
built here a brand.
It's all lingo, you know. It's okay.
It's as I'm saying. It's no metaphor. It's what he did.
I understand,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
what I'm saying is whether
Yeah.
you remove it, whether
Yeah.
you take something out of it and
destroyed
it's
it, yeah.
cleared,
Yeah.
is another.
Oh,
it's,
gone.
It's
Burnt
semantics.
them away. Yeah,
It's
burnt them
clear.
away. So he then built her a new awareness, brand new awareness, right in front of me.
Okay.
I was fucked.
Yeah, proper fucked. And I'm standing there. It's on YouTube. People don't believe it. They think it's a joke, just so we can rinse them of money. But money is complex number energy. Complex number energy is used to build reality. So, yeah, we sell products. We put money in the bank. We don't touch the money because we use that to continue what we're doing. We use the energy from it. So that's why Tim charges for all the things he does, you know. And £1,000 for a crystal that can let you live between 200 and 4 years old. People think it's a joke. Only 2 people have bought that one so far. It's only been out for a couple of weeks, but only 2 people have bought it. And I think life's cheap for people.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. But,
So
but
anyway,
we're not doing that right here.
Yeah,
Okay.
no,
So
no,
we're not
yeah.
promoting that sort of thing.
Yeah, I didn't mean to. You can cut that out. I'm not trying to promote anything.
That's okay. I mean, I get where you're going.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
okay, so
yeah.
at this moment, what you were actually talking about was that
Yeah.
an Illuminati taking energy from people
Yep.
and pulling it out of them and
Yeah.
then basically using it to
Yeah.
do magic.
So the
And that's a very common thing.
Yeah.
And that's actually known,
Yeah.
very well known.
And a lot of the energies are never talked about, and this is why I've been put off by the Pleiadians and all that, giving humans information. Well, they haven't given them enough information, because free will is an energy, and it has a name, and it's called hyperinfinity. I didn't know that till I met Tim, and he showed me the science of it, and I'm going, why don't they talk about this stuff, you know? Why don't they say what's really going on? All these top secrets of the Illuminati. A being could have channeled that to someone. Why haven't they? You
fair
know.
enough,
And I used
yes.
to collect channelings by the thousands. I had a room full of binders, going back 10, 15 years, and I was obsessed with
But a
all
lot
of
of
them.
this channeling is churn.
But I'm glad I did
It's
it.
just a repetitive,
yeah.
you know, bunch of information that,
And-
as you say, it never actually goes up above a certain level.
No, and it's been going on since the 60s.
Right.
We're going to ascend this year. We're going to ascend this year. Did you know that? Just like we were in the 60s, just like we will you'll all be dead. You know, it doesn't work.
Right.
People need to change. So from my point of view, I've now put all religion, all occultism, all light working, I've put everyone in the same boat. They're all doomed unless they wake up, because they haven't woken up. But where's the information going to come from? Well, as far as I can see, Tim's the only one who's ever brought forward these core secrets because he worked for them. And they ended up in this fight. He ended up in this fight with the Rothschilds. It went public. Tim's like, well, I can say what I like now. So he's published all of it on his websites, all these core secrets. And even if people read,
Nostradamus mentioned.
that's it. Yeah,
Last chapter.
Nostradamus. I need to get permission to tell you how I know this.
Yeah.
But it blew my mind the other week when I found out how this happened. But I believe that the last chapter that Nostradamus ever wrote in his book is about Tim.
All right, well, this is going to sound a little like idol worship here.
You know?
Yeah.
No, go and read it. Just go and read the last chapter. Yeah. Yeah. And
Okay.
Tim's total intent manifests. So Tim's cosmic law book in the earth. That's why he can do all this. He's the only one that can do all this.
I don't agree.
You know, I know you don't. That's
Yeah.
fine. I knew that. I know that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. That's fine. That's
It's
why I
not
think
one
it's
person.
healthy
You know,
to talk like
all
this.
of these powers we
Yeah.
all have.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah,
it's
but
not
no
one
one's
person.
doing anything.
Well,
Nothing's-
actually, on the contrary,
you
they
know?
are.
Are they?
Yeah, we are. There are
Okay.
many
Yeah.
people. He's not the only one.
Well,
But I
what
do
about-
believe he's
yeah,
doing
but
some
who's doing
things.
anything about anti-aging and living?
We all
to-
are. Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot.
So you
a
can
lot
live
of
to 200
that.
then, doing what you're doing. Is that what you believe?
I think it's very possible.
Okay.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Kundalini activation.
Okay. we've got a lot more to talk about.
It's all good.
Oh, so no, this is good. This is brilliant because we'll
Yeah,
find
I
a
mean,
common
no,
ground.
it's-
I want
it's-
to find a common ground with you on all this other stuff. that
Yeah,
we've
no,
got
it's all right.
differences
I
in,
mean, because, you know, you have to
Which is
see
why I'm
what you
doing
come
this.
across. I've been studying all of this
yeah,
stuff for
yeah,
many, many
yeah.
years. And I liked him, and I
Yeah.
know he's doing some good stuff.
Yeah.
Not sure it's all good.
The black magician, white magician. Because he's a black magician, everyone thinks he's out to get everyone. From what I've seen, black magicians can heal people so much quicker because they have direct access to hell space. And if you look on the Argan diagram of the circle, hell space is where you erase things from reality. So if you want to erase disease and you can get into hell space, you're going to do it very quickly. That's how he's taught me to do it anyway.
All right, well,
so,
that's, you know, it's a way of working.
you know, yes,
okay.
yeah. And there's lots of different ways to
There
do it.
is,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
right path, left path.
Yeah,
It doesn't,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, that's not the end of it. But
Of
I will
course.
say that in his case,
Yeah.
see, well, we talked about this on my interview
Yeah,
with him
yeah,
again.
yeah.
If you go far enough into self, you know, and doing things for yourself, you end up doing it for someone else
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's a
called
three
time. Yeah.
through line.
Yeah.
Okay, and ultimately the negative will join the positive. So, and it's all one. The snake will eat its tail. And thank you very much for listening and being here
Brilliant,
today.
thank you.
And thank you very much, Duncan.
much. Finally, pleasure to meet you after
It's
all these
lovely.
years.
Yeah, lovely to meet you as well.
know, brilliant.
And thank you, Miles, and thank you, Cut.